Welcome to the Kerner office, where we dive deep on business ideas and business models. So a few months ago, I posted this tweet over here. It went viral, got over 1 million views, and I was just fascinated about the concept of a fly-in neighborhood. This is Pecan Plantation, which is about an hour south of Dallas-Fort Worth. It has over 4,000 acres and over 4,000 homes, and it has 2 runways. Better yet, there are homes on the airstrip, and then there are homes where you can taxi to the airstrip. And this just boggled my mind, and I'm not even into aviation. And so I just thought I have to talk to the owner of this neighborhood. It happens to be a company called Patten Properties. I talked to John Patten, super helpful. And I just wanted to know, what is liability like? What is insurance like? What are noise complaints like, if any? What is it like living in a neighborhood that's almost fully encompassed by the Brazos River? It's just a super interesting business. There's also a actual pecan plantation on the property. And I'm just curious. And I assume you are as well. So I thought you might want to hear this. All right. So we met each other because I saw a pecan plantation and I thought it was incredible. And so I tweeted about it and it went viral. And now we got in touch and it's like, okay, now I actually want to learn about this because there's something here. So can you talk briefly about like the history behind Pecan Plantation, how it went from the original owner's hands into your hands?
Sure. And we're still partnered with the Anthony family, the original owners, but they began developing Pecan Plantation way back in the 1970s. It was initially a full-on pecan plantation. They still have a headquarters there for their business. And they built a series of neighborhoods. Typically, a developer will try to sell their inventory pre-development, pre-construction, and then use some of those funds to build the project out. And what separated them is they did it completely opposite. They completed it, put in the finished product, and then they sold it. But again, they weren't necessarily land developers, so they developed a series of neighborhoods starting in the 1970s. And the patriarch, Mr. Anthony, who I believe is 92 now, decided he was at a point in life where he wanted to expedite the project, finish up the development. And while this was going on, he lost one of his sons, who was an intricate part of the real estate side of Pecan Plantation. So they decided to list it for sale. And a broker that we've done business with before brought the project to us. We did a couple site visits, did some homework on it, met the Anthonys, and it became apparent to us that they were so entrenched, not just with the project, but the community. It would be next to impossible for us to just buy it and step into their shoes and continue with what they were doing. So they came and they visited one of our big flagship projects north of the Woodlands, Republic and Texas Grand Ranch, and they saw our operation and figured out pretty quickly, I think, that we were the real deal. And over several months, we came up with the idea for a partnership where the Anthonys would kind of stay in the deal, help out with the HOAs and, some of the day-to-day affairs. And we would, from day one, come in, take over the development of the lots. We put our own people on site, took over the sales and the marketing and kind of the daily operations, and they helped us as needed. I believe we started in November of 22, and since then we've sold 350 plus properties for about $57 million in sales.
Wow.
So it's been a partnership that's worked great for both of us.
What percentage fully sold is the property right now?
So that was another unique thing about Pecan Plantation. I believe it had 3,400 existing homes when we started.
Okay.
We're going to add probably the final 1,000 or so units to the community, but it's its own town. I haven't seen much like it in my time working, so it's got that scarcity value that people look for when they're trying to invest their money or buy a piece of real estate or whatever they're looking to do.
Yeah. Back to your original story, I feel like there's so many interesting learnings in there. Like, as a real estate owner, developer myself, it's funny how you started the conversation by saying you bought these condos in Florida and you had to convince the banks, you brought the developer with you, and you were creative to make it work, which you have to be sometimes. And then with this property, over a decade later, you just brought them to one of your existing comparable properties and they were like, oh, wow, these guys know what they're doing. Right. So it's like 2 creative ways to get a deal done, both either end of the spectrum, right? Well established
Absolutely.
and not established. I also think it's interesting as looking at Pecan Plantation as a business. A lot of times as a business owner, you want to build your business to sell. You don't want things to be too intertwined with the owner. You want clean books. And that's generally good advice. But when the opposite is true, there are still creative partnerships that you can form, like as what happened with you.
It was too special of a place not to figure something out. In our business, there's this thing I call the sniff test. You go and you visit a site, and would you live there? Would you use it? Would you enjoy it? And within 45 seconds through the front gates, absolutely, this is a special place. So it was too nice and too special not to figure out how to help the Anthonys get it completed.
All right, so about 1,000 home sites left. That what I think is so.
That's what we started with. We probably were down to 600 to 700.
Okay, so six. I think you said 350, so like 650 left or so.
Yeah.
Okay, what's so unique and interesting about the property is how it's like almost fully encompassed by the Brazos River.
Yeah,
right.
The location. You're surrounded by the Brazos River. Granbury is a spectacular small town. It's got great history, great restaurants, a very scenic lake. But yet you're close to Fort Worth, Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then you get to Pecan Plantation. And again, it's a unique small town within a town. Pecan Plantation is fairly self-sufficient, has its own grocery stores, its own drug stores, its own country club, its old kids parks. It's the whole deal there. So just very rare and special place.
Yeah, it reminds me of a neighborhood that my family lived in for about 6 months outside of Houston. It's 5,000 homes, its own grocery store, its own town. And that was the best 6 months I had ever spent in any home in my life. It was kind of a unique set of circumstances of why we had to move there, but I won't get into. But you can't overstate the community aspect and how that affects one's quality of life.
Absolutely.
Right. I imagine there's like walking trails and.
Oh yeah. No, it's got everything. It's got an equestrian component to it. It's got a marina. It's got a place called the Pack. It's all the kids' ball fields. They got 2 golf courses. They got a clubhouse, nice restaurants, gym. I mean, it has everything. It's got its own fire department, EMS. So it's pretty special.
And how many acres is it again?
I don't know the exact acreage off the top of my head, but it's a big place. When we're finished with it again, it's going to be 4,500 homes. Probably the average lot size when we get done with it's going to be close to an acre. So it's a big place.
Wow. Tell me about the pecan business. Like it sounds like there's still thousands of pecan trees there. Is that producing revenue? Do you have any role in that or?
We have zero role in that. I believe the Anthonys kind of still have it active. They have a mail order catalog, I believe. Outside of that, I've toured it. The pecans are delicious. They have chocolate pecans and candied pecans. And a lot of the residents in there try to preserve as many as pecan trees as possible. That gives it a little bit of its charm as you drive through it. But outside of that, we're not in any way involved in their business. And I know very little about the pecan business in general. But.
Yeah, same. I did a bunch of research on fly-in communities in general. And I'm not an aviation guy. I know a lot of people are. I just find it fascinating, the aspect of a landing strip as an amenity in a community. Back in the 70s, according to my research, there was like 20 or 30 of them. Today, there's 600 or 700 of them. I know a guy developing 2 in Tennessee. And like it just seems like it's a very fast growing asset class or a type of real estate.
Yeah, it's for sure. It's an interesting and successful niche right now. What makes Pecan so successful again, are you surrounded by the amenities? I don't think there's really another Airpark that has the amenities that Pecan Plantation has, and pay $200 a month to have access to them all is unheard of.
Holy cow. I didn't realize the HOA was that low.
Yeah, it's $200 for just about every home site in there. And then if you're a member of the Airpark, it's another $55 a month. But there's no other place in the country where you can go land your plane, have a hangar adjoining or behind your house, and then have access to all those amenities for little or no money. So that's probably why we've been so successful.
Have you ever done any market research or surveys with your residents to ask them how much the landing strip played into the decision? Because I imagine a lot of people move there and they don't really care. They just think it's an amazing community.
A lot of our customers that purchase in the Airpark, which is called the landings, they're either current or retired pilots, but the average lot size there is about 1.5 acres. And that gives somebody the ability to build a oversized barn or hangar or whatever. And there's a lot of people with toys. So we do have a lot of our customers that have come out and they have no interest in aviation. They have no airplanes, but they might be into RVs, or they might be into cars, or they might be into toys that require a lot of space. And there are a ton of options to accommodate that. So we have seen that as well. But by and large, we do have a lot of aviation enthusiasts, lots of current and retired pilots in and around the DFW area that love Pecan Plantation and love what you get there.
Is there a big difference in insurance costs, not to the homeowners, but to you as the owner in a fly-in neighborhood as opposed to a...
Since it's so well established, the HOA covers most of any insurance needs we really get involved with. Everything's encumbered by an HOA at this point. We're just developing and selling the remaining approved home sites in them.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine if it were a large line item, it would be top of mind for you. But
yeah,
you've got decades of a track record of safety.
For sure.
So I went back to my tweet and I tried to look at a bunch of the top comments. And I just think it's funny because I tweet about business ideas and neighborhoods and real estate for a living. And so I start to see a lot of patterns in the comments. And people love to pick apart things. And one of my favorite quotes is, "Pessimists sound smart and optimists get rich." And
absolutely,
a lot of people were saying, "Oh, no, I don't want a plane crashing into my house," or "Oh, noise, like my baby could never take a nap." And I just find it funny because they really don't know that any of those things are a real risk or not.
Right.
They're just keyboard warriors. So is noise an issue at all? I know it's, 4,000 plus acres. Some of the homes are far from the airstrip, but is that even a component to the lifestyle there?
No. It's, again, of the 4,500 homes that will eventually be in there, I think we'll probably have under 200 in the landings. And of that, half to 2/3 are pilots that might keep an airplane. So I've been there numerous times. Noise has never really even occurred to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we own an RV park that's literally right next to an airport, a small airport, but an airport nonetheless. And we got a good deal for it because of that. It was priced at a discount, but it's never been an issue to any one of our residents.
For sure.
What about the deal? So you kind of had to partner with the Anthony family. Is that a deal that you could replicate elsewhere, or was it pretty unique to this property?
With the right person, we could replicate it. It was unique because it's such a high quality product and location. And the Anthony family, they are very principled people, of great character. So it made it easy to partner with them. But it's definitely a model, if we found the right owners and the right project, that we could roll out for sure. It just happened to be a perfect fit with the Anthonys. We have done JVs and partnerships in the past, and it takes some vetting, but they do work, and it's something that we can roll out if the right opportunity arises.
Was there a unique component of the deal that you found interesting?
Everything was unique about it. Again, Pecan Plantation has the scarcity factor. Those type of high quality home sites with the acreage you get, with access to all those amenities for such a small fee in a town like Granbury, Texas, nothing else like it exists.
All right. If you are watching this clip right now, you are watching this on YouTube. And if you are a fan of podcasts, please check out my podcast while you're at it, because sometimes I have podcasts that aren't on YouTube and sometimes I have YouTubes that aren't on podcasts. So check out the Kerner Office on any podcast platform, or you can go to tkopod.com. Also, my newsletter, we'll throw that in there. There are no ads. It's weekly. It's different content than my podcast and YouTube. Newsletter.chrisjkerner.com. You'll see the link, and we'll see you there.
When we go into a market as a land developer, we never try to be the most expensive. We never try to be the least expensive. We always try to bring the best value to the marketplace. Mm-hmm. Price is what you pay, value is what you get at the end of the day. So we pride ourselves on being the best value in the marketplace. And spending an hour in Pecan Plantation initially, it hits you right in the face. Wow, this is what you get here. This is the best value in the marketplace.
It sounds like, so you're developing another park north of Houston. How is that part going to be different? And I know you were developing that one before this one, but did you learn anything from the Woodlands Airpark that you're applying to this park, or vice versa?
The Woodlands is not an airpark. It's just a development.
Okay.
A larger 2,000 lot development. But
yeah,
it's, it reminds you of a little bit of Pecan Plantation. We tend to do rather low density type developments. People prefer larger lots. They prefer trees. They prefer to see the nature. They prefer to build their own home, not have to buy a cookie cutter type home. And when you drive through Pecan, it's got all those elements checked off. Beautiful custom homes, lots of pecan trees, larger lots. It kind of fit within our box nicely.
Where do you see other air parks going wrong that are popping up?
Boy, again, we don't do a ton of air park development. We happen to be a land development company that is currently doing an air park, but that's not a field that we typically specialize in. Ones I've seen available on the marketplace that people are trying to sell, I would say location. The property might be nice, the air park itself might be nice, or the land might be suitable for an air park, but there's nothing within a 30+ minute drive. And again, one of the big driving factors for success at Pecan Plantation is you can go out your door, you've got a self-sustained little town, restaurants, things for your kids to do, grocery stores, gas stations, all that. So I think that's my 2 cents. The challenge with the air park industry right now will be finding a suitable piece of property that is close enough in to something for people to do, an area that people like, that you can make all the numbers make sense.
Can you speak about the business side of the neighborhood? Obviously, you make money by selling lots, expanding the neighborhood. Are there any ancillary revenue lines that are interesting or that you're looking at developing in the future that might be interesting? A lot of the people that listen to this are just total business geeks, and they like seeing how things work from the inside.
A brokerage could always be an idea. I think since we've been at Pecan Plantation, the available inventory in the neighborhood has vacillated between maybe as little as 40 homes and as high as 120 or 130 homes. So there's always going to be a need for resales there. So that's a potential ancillary business from all this. I think they just opened up a new Ace Hardware. So there's probably opportunities when the thing's fully built out for more commercial. I think the Anthonys own a little bit more commercial land in there. So that would be an opportunity as Pecan Plantation continues to grow and houses are built and people move in. For us, our primary focus is getting these neighborhoods complete, getting the lots sold, and getting Pecan fully inhabited.
What would you say is like the typical demographic of a resident there? I'm sure it's all over the map.
God, it varies. It's all over the map. So we've got our neighborhoods that are smaller lots, tend to be a little bit more entry-level homes. It's called the orchards, I believe. So that might lend itself more to a starter family or a couple that's looking to downsize. But then you drive into the Airpark lots, which again, average probably about 1.5 acres. And people build these beautiful homes and beautiful hangars. And then we have a section called the ranches, and those lots are up to 7 acres. People buying those have an interest in horses and are into equestrian. So they'll build nice little compounds there. So it varies. But at the end of the day, it's just the value you get with all these amenities and the location for $200 a month is unrivaled, in my opinion.
What are the price ranges of the lots of the remaining 650? How would you kind of bucket them?
Orchards, neighborhoods, and any future neighborhoods that are similar to that, average lot size will probably range between 1/3 to 1/2 acre. And that's probably a $100,000 price point. Our Airpark lots, we've got a new release in 2 weeks. We've got only 2 runway lots left directly on the runway and only 52 taxiway lots left. Those are probably in the taxiways are in the low 200s. The ones out in the runway are going to be more, obviously, because they're direct.
Mm-hmm.
And our larger acreage lots for up to 7 or 8 acres, those could go from the 2s up to 400,000 or 500,000, depending on the right property. So, we've got something for everybody there. Which is not necessarily the case in a lot of places.
And what would you say the ranges of the homes that are currently existing? Like on the 7-acre lots, are those $1 million homes, $3 million homes?
I would say the price range you're going to see at Pecan is going to range on average from the mid to upper 400,000s to as high as the low 2 millions. Again, it's quite a range, and there's some older neighborhoods that might not trade at quite the premium as some of these newer ones. So there's a big dynamic going on there.
It's interesting because the whole neighborhood just feels to me like it's representative of the state of Texas, right? You've got $400,000 homes, $2 million homes.
Yeah,
You're surrounded by a river. You have natural beauty. It's got history. You're close to DFW. You can fly in and out. You have all the amenities. You have the community aspect. Like it's the state of Texas in 4,000 acres.
absolutely. Something for everybody.
Yeah, a lot of times you see these neighborhoods that are one end of the spectrum or another, all starter homes or all $3 million homes. Um, it's nice. It adds a nice bit of diversity to the
No,
community.
that's what gives a place character too.
Yeah.
It's a very special place, and every neighborhood in there is unique, but they're all nice in their own ways. And it's, everything's unique, and it's a fantastic place.
If you were to ever come across a deal similar to this one, is it something that your company would do again?
Oh, absolutely. We've been blown away by the response, not just of Pecan Plantation in general, but the landings and the Airpark lots. It's been absolutely incredible. We've got a new release. This is one of our final releases in 2 weeks, and I wouldn't be surprised if we sell 4 or 5 of these things every week for the rest of the year easily.
Tell me what's different about this new release compared to what you've done in the past, if anything.
Well, these are all around the second Airpark with a little bit of a larger runway. That's where we started back in November of 22. What's different about this release is we've got 2 lots directly on the runway, which we haven't always had. So people are literally right there. And we have some larger lots, upwards of 2 acres in the new release. But a lot of the stuff is fairly similar to what we started releasing back in November of 22. Super high-end taxiways, concrete taxiways along the lot lines, super high-end concrete roads. And what's going up for vertical right now, every single house in there is way over the square footage minimum, and you can tell people are taking pride in what they're building there. So it just has a tremendous feel when you drive through the entrance of it.
That's awesome. I actually pulled up Google Earth time lapse. I don't know if you've ever done that, but I was kind of in a mesmerizing way watching it develop from the 70s, and it looks like there used to be like a smaller airstrip in the central area, and now the main one is kind of off to the east a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah, and the smaller one still gets traffic when you go to the one of their signature courses there. I believe it's called the Nutcracker. You do see a little bit of activity there, but the new landings community with the high-end roads and the taxiways and everything we're doing to it, if you haven't been there, it just blows you away the first time you drive through it. There's nothing like it.
Do you allow other pilots to land and take off from there that aren't residents?
We do allow people to fly in that are prospective buyers. That much I know. I assume if you're a property owner there and you have friends with a plane that want to come visit, we just built a brand new 12,000 gallon fuel tank and a brand new 1 acre parking area. So it can accommodate guests, temporary guests, people coming in for fuel or whatever.
But it's not like a revenue line for you?
No.
Yeah.
No, this is more of a private community and use for residents and residents' friends and that sort of a thing.
Okay. Hopping back to this property as from an investment perspective, how has it performed according to your pro formas originally?
Pretty good. I'd say beat on most, if not all metrics. When I initially visited it and I saw the initial site plans the Anthony's put together and their ideas for pricing, my first thoughts were, wow, this is cheap, probably too cheap. And so when we opened up in November, the Anthony's, we were sharing an office with them at the time, and our project manager there, Steve Guy, kind of reviewed my initial thoughts and pricing on the first landings lots. And I got a call the next day from Steve after he spent the day with the Anthony's saying, boy, Anthony's might be a little concerned that we're putting the Airpark lots a little bit too high. They would like to see the prices reduced a little bit till we get some sales momentum. And I told him, no, let's go with what I put out and see what happens. Mm-hmm. And it was like somebody opened the floodgates immediately. And wow. I forget how many lots we sold our first 3 months, but it had to be 60 or 80. And we were off to the races. Wow. And the Anthony's were believers after 3 months.
It's funny because whether it's land development or a restaurant or anything, I feel like business owners are much more likely to price their product or service way too low
Yeah,
as
I
opposed to
agree.
high. I don't know if they're self-conscious, they don't want to offend people, but own what you have, own the value that you're offering others.
Yeah, works hard. Finding a
Yeah,
good real estate deal is hard.
it is.
So,
And I have massive respect for people in business or real estate that are different than me, just because I'm not much of a risk taker. And when we buy an RV park, we like to de-risk it before we buy it as much as possible. Like we'll post ads for the vacancies before we even close as if we already own it. We'll do all kinds of tricks like that. And so to think of a land developer buying or investing in thousands of acres and then being patient enough, paying down those bank notes, it's probably insane, over years and decades before that thing is full. I can't wrap my head around that. So I just have a lot of respect for people that do take those risks.
land development is not for the faint of heart.
No. What have I not asked you that you think is interesting about this property?
Again, the scarcity factor, the quality of life. You've got everything at your fingertips. Yet, if you still want to go into the city and catch a basketball game or something, Dallas-Fort Worth area is not very far away. The residents, everybody that lives in there, by and large, are all great people. Everything is very clean. You drive around, it's impeccably maintained. And the amenities are first class. They're super nice. To the golf courses, the clubhouse is really nice. What they call the pack, the fields for their kids, it's tremendous value. And it's a place where if you drive through it, you could see yourself using it and being happy there.
How many entry or exit points are there since it is mostly surrounded by the river?
Yeah, there are two main gates.
Okay.
The front one where our office is, and then there's a back gate by the marina in Granbury Lake.
Okay.
So, and they got like one giant loop, and then there's a lot of signage to tell you where you're going, so you can navigate the various neighborhoods.
It looks like, was it Granbury Lake is kind of dammed off right at the entrance?
It is. It is. And
what's the story behind that?
well, I think the Anthonys were instrumental. They had to give some easement or something, I believe, back in the day. And I want to say they have some of the only slips right there on Granbury Lake. So they were instrumental in something. And it's just a beautiful scenic lake and just a fun place.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 golf courses, 2 airstrips, a river, a lake, grocery store, Ace Hardware. What am I missing? If you were to list out all the amenities, walking trails.
Oh, you've got the driving range, you've got workout facility, your own hardware store, your own drug stores, your own grocery stores, gas station. It's got an archery range, I believe. It's got an equestrian component with some stables for horses. It's got a horse trail. It's, you name it, it's got it.
What a beautiful property. It's just, I would love to have a property like this that could just be a legacy in my family. My great grandfather bought 640 acres in eastern Utah, and that was 98 years ago, and it's still in our family today. I was just there 2 weeks ago, and it just feels so nice to pass on a legacy like that. It seems like the Anthonys should be very proud.
Yeah, no, I think they're happy as can be, and it's been a very successful partnership, and I see nothing but continued success between the two of us.
Okay, John. Well, thank you. Thank you for teaching me about Pecan Plantation. And where can anyone find you if they'd like to learn more?
Pecan Plantation, Texas. We've got websites. For folks that are out of state, we do have the ability to do virtual tours. So if you're in California, Florida, any out of state location, you've heard about us, and you want a little bit more information before you go ahead and make the trip to come see us, I would certainly reach out to us, talk with one of our sales reps, and I'd be happy to kind of give you a virtual tour of not just Pecan Plantation, but Granbury, Texas, and the surrounding area, and help you schedule your time.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate your time. Let me know what you think in the comments about this type of episode, and we'll do more of them.